Well guys, hello, here we are. We have ourselves a bit of a bicycle video. Of course, this is the first bicycle of 2015 to be worked on again. This always seems to be the first bicycle up pretty much every year that I work on. You may remember this bicycle from such videos as Retail Assembly Rant and, spring tune-ups and stuff like that. Of course, in front of us here we have a Schwinn memento cruiser bicycle. Pretty much it's a 7-speed bicycle with, of course, the, newer style brakes, if you want to say. All in all, of course, I forget how many years old this bike is now. I believe about 3 years old. This will be the third or so year. And it's actually standing up fairly well to the person that is riding it. This person uses it as a main mode of transportation, and actually it's worked, fairly well. The only real repairs or changings that it's had on it from factory was, the grip shift was broke. Of course, that was due to a collision, and of course the derailleur has been changed, but that was due to a collision as well. I did add the derailleur guard, which now, as you see, has worked because there is some, scuffs and stuff in the guard. So of course that prevents, the derailleur itself from getting the brunt of the attack. And of course, I believe I replaced a cable on this too at some time or another, and the rear tire and tube was replaced. He kept getting glass cuts in it, so he replaced that on its own, and it looks like eventually it's going to need to be replaced again. If you notice down here, it's actually started to crack already, and that's only been a year, if I remember correctly, right? So of course it's in this time to get a basic spring tune-up. Once overall, it looks like it's fairly good. It weathered another year fairly well without any big issues. However, of course, the new cable has stretched, so therefore it needs to be tightened back up for it to drop down into the 7th gear, which is really no biggie. Now, of course, to determine that the cable is the culprit, what I like to do is I undo the little nut here at the back. Basically pulls slack into the system, and then you give her a bit of a pedal. The chain drops down, and if it drops down into 7th, the highest gear, then therefore it was just the cable. If it doesn't drop down into the highest gear, then therefore the derailleur, the adjustment screws are out, and you have to basically adjust the screws. So of course, guys, I'll throw you on the old tripod because, I had a few comments from the last video I did that I didn't show the work, so therefore I'm going to show the work this time around, and we'll see how she goes. Okay, so of course, taking either a number 9 flat wrench or a socket or whatever you want to use, loosen off the nut. Doesn't have to be super loose, just so there's slack, of course, in the system. Pretty much give her a shift on down into 7th, and then make sure the grip shift or shift lever that's on the handlebar, that's all the way into the highest number. Some bikes it's 7, some bikes it's 8. Nowadays they have bikes that are 9. So, get her down into 9, and then, of course, check for the slack in the cable. Now, of course, there's a little extra slack in this one because, I added it to the system. Now, what I like to do is to make sure everything is in alignment, nothing's bent, nothing's out of adjustment, is to basically ride or spin the bike like this without any slack, with slack in the cable. And then therefore, if the chain doesn't drop off, get pinched between the frame and the cassette here, then therefore, it's all good. So of course, if you're confident on the adjustment, that it doesn't need any adjustments, give the cable a bit of a pull to tighten it, kind of half checking for slack, and if you're good on there, then basically tighten up that nut. Okay, so once you got that cable tightened, run it through the gears a few times. Depends on the bike, you might have to adjust her a couple of times. I'd recommend cleaning the derailleur and the chain, just to make sure, you know, everything is well, free of grit or dirt before you do the fine adjustments, because sometimes a little bit of grit can throw everything, well, out of alignment. Of course, what I'd recommend doing is, well, you got the tools and stuff like that out, have a look at the brakes, have a look at the cables, you know, make sure nothing's seized, nothing's frayed in terms of, you know, right up here. This is where I've had them fray myself. Sometimes they will fray right in here as well, and then break up there. Of course, different makes, different models of bicycles have different weak points, you know, on the cables and stuff like that. If they're kind of stiff, the cable's not sliding like it should, what I do is I pull the cable off the bike, pull the inner cable out of the outer, you know, cover, and then give her a flush out with, you know, something to give it all the grit and stuff out of that, you know, too. If you leave your bicycle outside, it tends to rust and seize up faster than one that's, you know, kept indoors out of the wet and, you know, weather, stuff like that. Of course, and like I said, you know, give her a once over, make sure all the bolts are tight, everything's good to go for another season. Of course, throw some air in the tires, get, you know, them up to spec, and then basically, well, away you go. You know, there are times as a bicycle ages and wears that you might have to get the back wheel trued or the front wheel trued, especially if it's hit something or, you know, fallen over or whatever. Eventually, you know, you will have to repack the bearings, you know, whether it's in the headset or, you know, down there in the crank. They're basically a simple job. They're really not that hard to do. And if you do need replacements, most bike shops can order them in for you. But basically, guys, that's been kind of a, well, spring tune-up, you know, adjusting the shifting, a bit of a once-over on a Schwinn Memento bicycle. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's World. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.